Okay, so we're going to go over active, passive, and isometric resisted testing for the shoulder. We're going to start with active. So again, the biggest thing with active is being able to communicate what you want from the person without actually having to demonstrate it. So again, we're going to get him to start with his palms facing his sides, and you're going to have his thumbs facing forward. You're going to ask him to then bring his arms out in front of him and bring them up over his head as far as he can go. Perfect. You're going to come in, you're going to take a look from the side and make sure it looks even. To me, it kind of looks like his left shoulder is a little bit further than his right. So I might ask, is there any pain or problems doing that?
No.
No? Perfect. So then that might be just something to note. So now what you're going to get them to do, make sure they're not too close to the wall, but you're going to get them to bring their arms back behind their body as far as they can go. Great. I'm going to take a look. Looks pretty even to me. Any pain or problems doing that?
No.
Awesome. So now we're going to get them to do abduction. Again, abduction you need to test twice because we're going to test one version externally rotated and one version internally rotated. That will affect whether or not there's any impingement in the shoulder joint. So the first thing you're going to get them to do is have their palms facing their sides, and you're going to get them to go sideways and then try to bring their backs of their hands to touch each other over top of their head. Good. Again, you're going to take a look to see if there's any differences from side to side. Any pain or problems with that?
No.
Perfect. And now you can slowly lower your arms down. Any issues bringing your arms back down?
No.
Perfect. So I've tested the adduction as well just by asking if he had any issues. I don't usually do like a cross-body effect because that's quite awkward. So now we're going to do the externally rotated version. We did the internally rotated where you touched the backs of your hands together. Now you're going to get the palms facing away from their sides, and you're going to get them to go sideways while bringing their palms over their head. Go ahead. And then make sure it looks even. Any pain or problems with that?
No.
Perfect. And then you can bond back down. Any pain lowering?
No.
Perfect. So abduction and adduction have been tested. Now we're going to do what we call the Apley scratch test. So that is testing your external rotation, internal rotation, and your cross flexion. So the first one you're going to get them to do would be to get them to bring their uninjured side. So you get your right arm. I want you to bring it over top of your right shoulder to scratch your back. Perfect. I'm going to get them to turn around really quick. Okay. Face the back wall. So you're going to pick a finger. Say I pick the middle finger, and I'm just measuring the height of that to see where, how far he can go. We'll get you to bring that arm down, and now I want you to do the other side. Perfect. So now you can compare. It looks pretty even from side to side. So we can ask, was there any pain or problems with that?
No.
Perfect. So that movement was external rotation. Now you're going to get them to, again, start with your right side, your non-injured side. I'm going to get you to bring your right arm behind your back as if you're trying to scratch your back. Good. Again, pick a finger. I'm going to pick the middle. Okay. Awesome. You can bring that arm down. Now go with the other side. So we can obviously see there's quite a big difference here. We can ask, was there any pain or problems with that?
No.
No. So it could just be tightness or restriction. He is right-handed, so that side might be a little bit tighter because it does a lot more lifting and carrying. Then we're going to do cross flexion. So cross flexion is where you're going to get them to bring their right arm across to their left shoulder. So I want you to bring it over top of your left shoulder and scratch your back. Perfect. Same idea, middle finger. Okay, now bring that arm down, other side. And you're just, again, testing kind of the height. They look pretty even to me. Any pain or problems doing that?
No.
Perfect. So that was cross flexion. Cross extension is your last one. You can face the camera again. And you're going to get them to bring their arms up to a 90 degree. And then you're going to get them to bring their arms backward. Kind of like they were a plane flying through the air. Okay. And again, take a look to see if there's any differences. But that would be active range of motion. Any pain or problems?
No.
Perfect. Okay, have a seat. So we're going to move on really quickly to passive range of motion. So passive, again, you're testing the inert tissues. They need to be completely relaxed, okay? So this is going to involve you doing a good job at cradling the arm. So one hand is going to be on the shoulder joint. The other hand I'm going to be externally rotating. So I want to actually pull their palm to face forward, and I'm going to grip right at the elbow joint. I'm then going to be bringing them up, okay? I'm going to come down and up. So this is going to be flexion. And then I would do extension, where I just switch my hand positions, and then I'm going to pull them backward, like that. Okay? You can do this in different ways. If you like this hand positioning better, by all means, go for it. As long as you have one hand on the joint, one hand that's cradling, then you have no issues. Okay? But make sure to do 3 to 5 passes, get that overpressure. When you're doing the abduction, that's where you want to make sure you're really externally rotated. I mentioned it at the beginning for flexion, but it really doesn't matter at this point. But for abduction, it really should be externally rotated, so palm forward. Grip that elbow, and then you're going to bring them up and over their head. Okay? You're going to do your 3 to 5 passes. Obviously, once you start to approach the head, that's kind of their overpressure. You can't really go any further. And then when I come down, I'm not doing any overpressure across. I'm just going to be asking, is there any pain when I lower you down? Okay? We don't test the two different positions for passive because we've already tested it in active range of motion. So that was abduction and adduction. Then you're gonna go into your external and internal rotation. External rotation, how you should be doing this is you wanna cradle the joint. So you wanna actually come in, grip their arm, and have your hand kind of like cradling their elbow. You're gonna be pinching their elbow between your side and your elbow. Or sorry, their hand between your elbow and side, okay? From here, my hand's on the shoulder. I'm gonna be pushing and keeping his elbow stabilized against his side. And then I'm just twisting and rotating my body so that I can externally rotate him, okay? Sometimes you'll see videos where people kind of pinch here and do this, but you're never gonna get it to an end range position. And once you start to do this, they're going to start to abduct away, and then it's no longer gonna be a pure external rotation, okay? So really get comfortable in trying to cradle that joint as you pull them into external rotation. Go nice and slow, but you should be able to get your partner to feel a big stretch at the front of the shoulder before you know, okay, I've gone too far, okay? We're gonna do internal rotation next. So I'm gonna get Oscar to face away, if you can. Okay, so we're gonna have his arm to come behind his body like this. I would have one hand on the shoulder joint. The other hand, you want to have up against his wrist and your forearm up against his elbow, okay? So if I'm gonna be standing over here, this is what I'm positioned like. So my elbow is up against his elbow and my hand is cradling his wrist. From here, I'm just trying to pull his hand and wrist off of his body, not pulling the whole arm back, because that's going to be an elbow or shoulder extension. So what I want to do is I want to be here and then trying to rotate, okay? And actually pull the hand off of the back and not just his entire elbow off the back, okay? So that's internal rotation. The last one is going to be your shoulder flexion and cross flexion and extension. So I'm going to be here, abducted him, and then I'm coming across the body, and I'm going to be doing 3 to 5 passes. Once you go to do your overpressure, you can notice that if I continue to push, he's just gonna start to rotate away. At that point, you've met your overpressure. It's pretty much gonna be their biceps running into their chest, and that's why it's causing them to rotate, okay? So that's their end range of motion. The extension, again, if we get him to rotate that way a little bit, if I come here, I can then just pull him backward, okay? You can also change positions and stand in front of him and push him away, whatever feels more comfortable. But again, just make sure that a hand is on the joint at all times, okay? The last thing we're gonna do is isometric resisted testing. So we are just gonna get them to bend their elbow at 90 degrees. I'm gonna have one hand on the back of their shoulder, one hand on the front of their biceps, and I'm gonna try to push them backward, okay? So I'm gonna try to push you backward. Don't let me move you on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Then we're gonna switch. So now this hand is gonna come up to the front of the joint. This hand is gonna come down to his triceps, and I'm gonna try to push him forward. He's gonna go backwards. So on the count of 3, I'm gonna try to push you forward. Don't let me move you. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. So that was flexion and extension. Again, pair them and then go test the injured side. With your abduction, you do need to test abduction twice. So you're gonna test it first, basically around 15 degrees, because that's what's going to test your supraspinatus. Past that's going to be all deltoid. So we bring their elbow just slightly off their body, and then I'm going to have one hand to stabilize, and I'm going to say, I'm going to try to push your elbow in towards your side. I want you to bring your elbow out. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. Perfect. And then we're going to do abduction again up here. So now I'm going to try to push you down. Don't let me. Perfect. Okay. So that was abduction done twice. Adduction, you only do once. So now you're going to just basically bring your hand on the inside of the arm, still stabilize with a hand up here. And now I'm trying to pull him out. He's going to be pulling it toward himself. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. And I just have to pretty much lock my elbow out and just lean back. And then that's your resistance that you're applying. Again, do those 3, test the other side. Internal and external rotation is usually much easier than passive. So all you have to do is get their elbow bent. Same idea. This hand is now going to stabilize the elbow. So that's going to be important. This hand's going to be at the wrist. Okay. I'm going to try to push his wrist toward his stomach. He's going to try to rotate out. So make sure to explain that pivoting movement a lot better. Because if you don't, what will happen is they will do abduction. Especially if you just say, "Keep push out against my hand." That's what they're going to do. Okay. So the point of your stabilizing the elbow is to make sure the elbow does not leave the side and it's coming from a rotation and not an abduction, okay? So hand here, I'm gonna try to rotate you in, you're gonna rotate out. Ready? Go ahead. 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Now I'm just going to switch my hand positioning. So now I'm going to bring my hand on the front side of the forearm, and I'm going to try to rotate you out. You're going to rotate in. Ready? Go ahead. 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. The last two movements are going to be your cross flexion, cross extension. So we're going to get his elbow bent up to here. So really all we've done is abducted him. I'm going to have my one hand on the back of the shoulder, one hand on the biceps, and I'm going to try to push him backward. He's going to try to come forward. So on the count of 3, ready? 1, 2, 3. 3, 4, 5. Good. Now you're just going to rotate. So I'm going to put my hand here and one hand here, and we're going to try to go backwards. I'm going to try to push you forward. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. 3, 4, 5. Perfect. And then again, test your injured side just to compare side to side.